Hello and welcome to The Nerve. I'm Maureen Callahan. We have such an incredible show for you today. We've got Jack Schlossberg's boycott of the Met Gala, as if anyone cares, but there's reason to dive into this, I promise. We've got his relative Maria Shriver's new self-help book, which we're also going to take apart. We've got even more on Meghan Markle, and I promise you, you're gonna die because I'm just not even gonna spoil it for you. We've got Walton Goggins from the White Lotus, who really has it coming. So we are tackling a ton of stuff today. But before we get into all of that, I would like to talk a little bit about what I did a few days ago. As you guys know, I am hardly one to talk myself up, but I have been expanding my resume. As you know, I am now an actress. I have appeared in a short film called With Love, Meghan. That's Meghan with a Y. And a new trailer has dropped from your friend and mine, Megyn Kelly, in which you know what, I can't spoil anything. This is really Meghan's story to tell, but I want to address one Gail King directly. Gail, you are out banging the drum in front of any media outlet that will have you about what an inspiration you are now that you have been to outer space, and how nobody can relate to you now that you've been to outer space, and how nobody is allowed to talk to you anymore unless you've been to outer space. Gail, to you I say, I too have now added astronaut to my resume. You may feel free to call me directly if you're feeling lonely, or DM me if you want to talk about the rigors of becoming such a legend in your own time. And I also would just like to say that in my roughly 30 minutes of intense training to take this little joyride, I learned a very interesting fact that I had not known before, that there are only 663 astronauts in the scope of human history, and 23,000 people out of a planet of 7 billion have taken a joyride to achieve weightlessness. So Gail, let me put it in parlance you might understand. I see you. I acknowledge you. I celebrate your greatness and I stand in your truth. Truly, I salute you. You have it all coming, every single bit. And by the way, I couldn't be happier to hear that your morning show, which is terrible, has been tanking in the ratings and has shed about 1.9 million viewers since you've been bragging about this disgusting, obscene, vulgar trip into outer space. Love you. Now, let's talk a little bit about the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which happened this weekend, an event that I have been to now 3 times, or maybe 2.5, and I will explain. So what you see and what is sold to you on, the showbiz gossip shows like The Extras, the Access Hollywoods, or like on CNN or whatever news channel of your choice, they will depict this as one of the most exclusive, glamorous, elite events of the year. Trust me when I tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. So I'm going to give you a little recap with some personal anecdotes and gossip. My first year was in 2023. That was the year fellow reality TV show lovers will understand this. It was the year of Scandival. It was the year that Vanderpump Rules broke through that little genre bubble it was in, the Bravo-verse as it's called, and straight into America's collective vein. It was just jacked into our veins constantly. So our guests that year were Lisa Vanderpump, the sort of doyenne of the show, and Ariana Madix, who was depicted, and if you do a rewatch, you'll see that I'm right, wrongly depicted as the wronged woman who had just suffered humiliation after humiliation. So those two were guests of the Daily Mail, where I column twice a week. They were our guests at our table. And these tables cost, again, it's like an obscene amount of money. It's like $25,000 or $35,000 to buy a table. So these are coveted seats. And if you get invited, the deal is you come to play. Now, next to our table sat the family of Evan Gershkovich. And if you recall, Evan was the young, I think he was like 28 years old, Wall Street Journal reporter. He was in Russia, covering Russia for the Journal. He was abducted by Putin's like secret intelligence agency, thrown into a Russian prison. He was fated to spend the rest of his life there, okay? Joe Biden's president, he's there. Colin Jost is hosting. His wife, Scarlett Johansson, is there. Kerry Russell from The Diplomat is there. Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, is there. It's a very starry evening. Trust me when I tell you that Evan Gershkovich's family, which should have been the sole focus of this night, nobody gave a shit. The only people anybody wanted to see was Lisa Vanderpump and Ariana. And LVP won by a mile, by the way. So she's sitting next to me or a seat away. Before the event even begins, there is a line on either side of this woman's shoulders, deep, deep, deep to the back of the room. This room is the size of like a football field. And all Lisa did the entire time, and I loved her for it. She was a great guest, very entertaining. She would put her hair like this and move her head to the left and selfie. Then she would silently move her head to the right like this. Selfie, selfie, selfie. It went on. When it was over, she said to me, that took a lot of energy. And you know what? I'm sure it did. Ariana Maddox, on the other hand. So LVP and Ariana did not speak to each other at all. And I found that interesting. And Ariana, this was her the whole night on her phone, texting, Instagramming, on her phone, hardly engaging with us at all. I think I asked her, so she and LVP had gone on a private tour of the White House that afternoon. And I said, oh, how was it? And it was like, the light goes on and she's like doing a confessional for reality TV. She's like, amazing. That, my friends, was the entire answer. You got a private tour of the White House. You saw the Lincoln bedroom. You saw things the average American on a tour doesn't see. Amazing. Okay. Initially, I thought she was on her phone because maybe she felt outclassed and unmatched in this room full of very serious people who do a very serious thing for a living. And I'm using quotation marks because I'm winking at you. But then I realized later, no, she thought she was just too good to talk to the rest of us. So she was a total asshole. So flash forward to last year, our guests at our table, I guess an attempt to sort of maybe replicate that buzz of the LVP era, Jax Taylor and Brittany Cartwright, whose marriage we are now seeing unraveling on the new season of The Valley. It's incredibly dark. Now, Jax Taylor was, again, one of my shame crushes, season 1 of Vanderpump Rules. Very good looking guy, very charismatic, but he is a guy who is a womanizer. He just admitted to a 20-year coke problem. The Valley is, inching up to alleging that he possibly has abused Brittany. These two show up. They're already separated, but they show up. After the event, we're all at like the hotel bar drinking. Jax comes over to me and one of the other Daily Mail women, starts talking. And I'm like, okay, let's see. Let's see what's going on upstairs. I should have said to myself, Maureen, this is really a rhetorical question. He's expressing the just utter wonderment that we can turn around news stories quickly. I mean, this is the job. We turn around news stories quickly, like any media outlet worth its salt. And I say to him, well, what you do also requires very quick turnaround and responses to things. And he says, well, what do you mean? We shoot our show and our show already shot and it's in the can. And I said, no, what I mean is as the show airs in real time, you get tons of viewer feedback immediately on Reddit, on viewer threads, on podcasts, on all of these things. And then you guys reply in real time, either on social media or, it's a whole ecosystem. Now, when I said the word ecosystem, I literally said to myself in my head, Maureen, this guy does not know what the word ecosystem means. Abort, abort, abort. And I slowly turned my chair around as somebody else approached and began talking to him and exited that conversation. This year, President Trump was not in attendance. There were no real stars there. It's kind of over. It's kind of over. If you listen to Megyn Kelly's show on Monday, she was recounting to her of what it was like, which is basically you're introduced to somebody who is semi-important, and the introduction is meant to be like, hey, you guys should like know each other. Like it might be helpful down the line. The entire experience of talking to anybody at an event like this, most people, not all, but I'm gonna say 99% of them, you're trying to talk to them as a human being would, and they are looking around anywhere but you, because there's gotta be somebody more important in this room who they can certainly give their attention to, right? I mean, this happened to me twice, and the second time it happened to me, I literally said to myself, fuck this, I'm out of here, and I left. So I'm gonna name a name because he's kind of a sort of a new star in the media world. One Scott Jennings, who over on CNN is sort of like, you know, the media, the left-leaning media will, you know, take him to the woodshed because he's a conservative offering his thoughts on CNN, and the conservative media, he's kind of like a new object of obsession and love because he takes all those hits so hard, but he keeps coming back and he's putting people in their place. Okay, I get introduced to this guy. Fine, perfectly. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. I run into him again about 10 minutes later, and I say to him, Scott, and I'm standing right there. Completely blanks me because what does he need me for? Apparently nothing. He's a big hotshot at CNN. His life is on fire. Why speak to the likes of me? That is what this thing is like. And I want to use this as a moment to transition into all of the bullshit that we're constantly fed about people who are rich, famous, powerful, having a moment. For those of you who've watched White Lotus or Justified or The Righteous Gemstones and are a fan of Walton Goggins, who is carpet bombing the culture right now, please, sir, please take your leave. This guy is so in love with himself. He is on the cover of Cultured Mag. Take a look at it. He's wearing like banana boat, like Speedo, shirtless. He's like an unlikely sex symbol, but he's having his time. He just posted something insufferable on Instagram that I saw this morning. He's recording an album. Of course he is. He did a GQ profile, a cover profile, in which, you know, with this guy who was considered sort of an actor's actor, there was a no-go zone for him, for anyone who was interviewing him. And that was the death of his first wife, which, you know, only fairly recently did he acknowledge, yes, that was a suicide. But now we're talking about it. And it reminds me a lot of when Joaquin Phoenix was dying to get that Oscar, dying for it. And, you know, a former no-go zone for him was the death of his brother, River Phoenix, which was tragic, a tragic drug overdose on a sidewalk in LA outside Johnny Depp's nightclub, the Viper Room. And Joaquin watched it happen and couldn't save his brother, a true trauma. You know, but you get to a point and then things shift and you can commodify anything. I have two things I'd like to say about Walt Goggins. One, right before the White Lotus premiered, he wrote this gushing post on Instagram to his wife and child, saying how he couldn't bear to tear himself away from them for the length of this shoot, which was infamously like 6 or 7 months in Thailand. And, you know, how they're like basically his other right arm, his limb, his organs, whatever. I read that and I thought to myself, this guy cheated. This guy cheated on set. This guy cheated on location. Now, he and his co-star, Amy Lou Wood, who was adorable seeming, did a great performance. They had a sex scene in the second episode that was one of the most intimate, explicit sex scenes I've ever seen. And it actually, I am far from a prude, but it made me uncomfortable watching it. I thought, I shouldn't be seeing this. And it made me look at him in a new light. It made me look at Mike White in a new light because, and I just thought to myself, these two are actually having an affair in real life because there is no actor on the planet right now in the wake of Me Too and intimacy coordinators who could not go to their director and say, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. Figure something out. Do a workaround. Get a body double. But this was, you could see it was them. It was absolutely them engaged in this most intimate act that if I am Walt Goggins' wife, doors are locked, your shit's on the lawn, and I've got the best, sharkiest shark of a lawyer in town. So then they clearly had some kind of falling out because like 8th graders, Walt unfollowed her. I'm guessing the wife caught wind of this. And then when Amy Lou was mocked in an SNL parody of the White Lotus called The White POTUS for her teeth, for her overbite, which frankly I found endearing And I found a breath of fresh air in this world in which everybody who can afford 10 grand in plane tickets and doctor fees is flying to Turkey for the worst veneers I've ever seen. Like those bright chiclets, the teeth that are all like the same exact size and the same exact volume. It's like, nature doesn't work like that. Like, don't go to Turkey. If you want veneers, save up and go see a specialist in the United States, okay? So Walt, we see Amy Lou in the press, photos of her, the paparazzi. She says it's extremely hurtful. It made her cry. And this is the one time I will side with a young actress, because teeth are very, very often an indicator of class. If you have bad teeth into adulthood, it means you probably grew up in poverty or with parents who were so distracted with their own stuff that they couldn't attend to you to make sure you had like a healthy orthodontic situation going on in your mouth. And this goes beyond like, you know, looks and superficiality. What goes on in your mouth affects everything that goes on in your body, okay? An ecosystem, to use a word that Jax Taylor is probably still Googling. So he posts underneath something regarding on Instagram. I forget the exact post, forgive me, but it was something like somebody like going, oh, that was amazing, the mocking of Amy Lou's overbite. And Walt posts, ha, capital H, capital A, exclamation points. Classy, sir, really classy. Coming from a guy, per his own oft-told origin story, grew up dirt poor, who, according to his own origin story, lost the bulk of his upper teeth in some kind of sporting accident. Like, I think he caught a ball to the face. He could only afford dentures. So when he breaks through Unjustified, great show, Boyd Crowder, one of the greatest anti-heroes of all time, he's got really bad teeth. He still can't afford good teeth. He's basically wearing the equivalent of dentures. It's like an overbite. It's like obvious they're fake teeth, but they're not good fake teeth. Now, in the wake of the White Lotus, or in the run-up to the White Lotus, I was looking very closely, and he's had his teeth done again. And they look a lot better. They're not perfect, but they look a lot more like they fit his face, like they fit inside his mouth. Is anybody making fun of Walton Goggins' teeth? Anyone at all? Because I don't see it happening. Instead, he's being held up as a new sex symbol, and the guy will not exit stage left. I think this guy is a real piece of shit. And, you know, sir, you get what you give. And I think karma's going to come hard for you. I really, really do. Oh, and before I forget, so this guy, again, humble beginnings, finally catches the break of a lifetime. In the HBO show, every actor would sell an organ to be on. Trust me. This is what's going on in Hollywood right now. Mike White calls, you pick up and you say, where am I going? For how long? If I have to like miss a major life event, no prob. So Walton Goggins sits with the New York Times to talk about his favorite things. You guys are going to die, okay? Die. One of my favorite things, drinking wine by the fireplace. You may have seen this fireplace in the Architectural Digest Instagram reel in which Walt gives a tour of his house in upstate New York. He says, this fireplace is 100 years old and the centerpiece of this living room that has hosted Edna St. Vincent Millay. I'm jumping out of this plane right now. I've never even heard of this. And trust me, like I read a lot and I like nice things too, but I've never heard of this. My Becerra BZ10 espresso machine. Okay, whatever. The Corner by Lousberg. Who is this person? I don't know. Okay, a used pair of APC jeans. For those of you who might not know, it's a French label, and in France, they consider APC the equivalent of the Gap, which is such a joke because at the Gap, you can get a pair of good denim jeans for like $30. At APC, the cost of entry for a pair of jeans is like $300. I just can't seem to penetrate, what kind of word is this? Penetrate loose-fitting jeans in the year 2025? What are you talking about? I don't understand. These APCs are a raw denim pair that they've sold for a very long time. The trick is you never wash them. That is disgusting. Wash your jeans. You go in the ocean with them and they turn into the perfect color. Have you ever tried swimming in denim jeans? You're going to sink to the bottom of the ocean like Virginia Woolf, okay? Committing suicide. Office Scene, again, another label I've never heard of. And I have a shopping problem. So again, I'm just saying, like, not that I'm the arbiter, but I kind of am. Officine creative loafers. That's Officine. As one gets older, Walt tells us, you begin to see really who you are and who it is that you want to emulate and how you want to move through the world. I guess that means you like to tease an alleged ex about her most tender, raw, soft spot online, kind sir. And I have this image of Gianni Agnelli in my head, okay? How many people in America really are looking at Gianni, who even know who Gianni Agnelli is? I love Italy. Now we're off into like another thought. I don't know. I mean, Gianni Agnelli was Italian, but whatever. I love Italy. I love that sundowner style with a Campari spritz at 5 and a little aperitif, whatever. A black Dior classic suit. One piece of advice that my father gave me is, again, we grew up in real profound poverty. According to him, I would rather have one shirt that costs $250 than 5 shirts that cost $50. Not everybody has that luxury, okay? People have to go to work. They have to show up in more than one shirt. It's about quality, he tells us, and saving your money and being patient. A cast iron skillet and fryer. I also perfected French fries, he tells us. He's a regular Meghan Markle, who we're gonna come to later. I'm gonna spare you that recipe. My brass cocktail shaker. Walt, I have a cocktail or a glass of wine every night, transitioning, word of the decade, transitioning from work to my civilian life. That spring summer cocktail is a different kind of joy. For that, you use citrus more often than not. Citrus, by the way, he tells us, has to be shaken, not stirred. Kimberlin Brown jewelry. My wife and I, he tells us, we'll see for how much longer, buy jewelry sparingly. Things that we feel are classic and transcend style. We came across this woman's jewelry at a shop down in Soho, which if you've been to Soho in New York City recently, it's like Millionaire's Row. Okay, you cannot buy something in Soho for less than like $500, like a single item, especially jewelry. I became obsessed with it. Each one feels like an heirloom, like something you can pass down to generations to wear, like a Patek Philippe, however you say that. My Super 73 electric bikes, last and not least. One of the most enjoyable things in my life is driving down dirt roads in the summer and fall with my son. I grew up riding motorcycles, but I wasn't really able to introduce that to my son. I think his son is like 10. Why is your kid riding motorcycles? Have we all not seen Pax Jolie, son of Angelina and Brad, riding around on like his motorbike? I think he's gotten into 3 major crashes and the kid doesn't even wear a helmet. Can your son just not ride a bicycle like every other 10-year-old in suburbia? No. He's Walton Goggins' son. He's got to be cool. He's got to be on a motorcycle. I thought this was something that we could share together, Walt says, and teach him how to ride responsibly. I'll never forget that first day we went out. It was the first, fancy word coming, he's smart. He's an actor, but he's smart. It was the first time that he was truly autonomous as a human being, as opposed to what? A household pet? A plant? He is a human being. You birthed him. You sired him. Your wife birthed him. Anyway, that's enough of Walton Goggins. I hope never to revisit this guy again. Okay, next up, we are going to talk Maria Shriver's new self-help book of poetry and Jack Schlossberg's bold stance on boycotting the Met Gala. I think you might know what my theory about that is. We will see you in a few. I'm going to tell you a story about a guy named Leo Grillo, a hero, really. While on a road trip, Leo came across a Doberman that was severely underweight, clearly in pain and struggling. So Leo rescued that Doberman and named him Delta. You know where this is going. Delta was just one of many animals that needed help, which inspired Leo to start Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They've rescued thousands of dogs, cats, and horses from the wilderness, and they provide their animals with shelter, love, safety, and a home. This dedication and everlasting love to animals is Leo's mission and legacy. And Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions from people like us who love animals and want only for them to have the absolute best. I mean, if you're like me, my dog lives better than I do. So if you want caring for these animals to be part of your legacy, you could speak with your estate planner because there are tax-saving estate planning benefits too. you can grow your estate while letting your love for animals live well into the future. Check out the estate planning tab on their website to learn more and speak with an advisor. We call a dog our best friends for a reason. You can help those who need it the most. So please visit deltarescue.org today to learn more. That's deltarescue.org. Welcome back to The Nerve. We are going to get into Caroline Kennedy's son, Jack, in a few moments. But first, I need to talk to you guys about Maria Shriver. I need to really just vent because I think a lot of us are feeling the same feelings and we may not be able to put names to them, but together we're going to get through it. So Maria Shriver, you may have seen her on her little media tour. She has a new book out, which I finally bought. I was having trouble bringing myself to put money in her pocket, but it's for a greater good. Okay, so this is the book. It's called I Am Maria. Maria Shriver, #1 New York Times bestselling author. And in fact, to my great dismay, I saw in this weekend's book review, it has debuted at #1 on the New York Times list. And that was the inciting event. I said, I've got to talk to you guys about this and we've got to take it apart. So, Maria Shriver, I'm going to give you my blanket objections to her, and then we can go in and really dig in piece by piece. Maria Shriver has newly reinvented herself, I'm going to say over the past decade, as a real Christian woman of faith whose difficulties in life now have imbued her with so much wisdom and experience that her job is now to teach all of us how to become better people and really self-actualized, again, whatever that means. But this is the garbage language that we are infected with in this current culture. Maria Shriver, and this loops into this new book, her husband, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the mega movie star of the 80s, there was nobody bigger, maybe Sly Stallone, he had an affair. I'm going to say actually a relationship because it went on for about 10 years with the Schwarzenegger/Shriver household's maid. That affair resulted in a child who was kept a secret for about 10 to 15 years. This child spent a lot of time in Arnold and Maria's home. Among Arnold and Maria's 4 children, one of whom Patrick Schwarzenegger starred in The White Lotus. For my money, by the way, one of the best performances on the whole show. Oh, I also saw Jason Isaacs at the White House Correspondents' dinner. Very small guy, like shorter than I am. I'm 5'7". He was like maybe 5'5" and like rail thin. But anyway, so the kids grow up with this other child in their home often. And this child, we're going to show you a picture of him, is the spitting image of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, so Maria Shriver would have us believe that the wool was pulled over her eyes for about 15 years, that she had no idea that this could have been a child fathered by her own husband, who, by the way, open secret in Hollywood. I remember reading about this as a kid in like Premiere magazine and Movie Line magazine. This was back when magazines really mattered and they like really delivered the goods. And it was reported often in there, not only that Arnold was a serial womanizer, but that he was really creepy with women on sets and way too handsy. And he definitely would have been Me Too'd. You're telling me that if I'm like a kid in suburban Long Island and I know about this, that Maria Shriver doesn't know about it? Not buying it. Maria Shriver doesn't know that this kid who's a carbon copy of her distinct looking husband with a jaw that like, come on, you don't, okay, fine, whatever. The story breaks. Maria, shocked, taking to her bed, her fainting couch, can't believe it. By the way, she grew up a Kennedy, okay? This is what these men do. They treat their women like shit. They have affairs. They sire other kids. Sometimes they leave women for dead. She's shocked, guys, shocked to her bones. She's a big Christian. All we see whenever Joseph Baina, that's the name of the child, he's now an adult, that Arnold had with the housekeeper. And to Arnold's credit, he has been a present and loving father to this kid. You know, Maria reportedly, allegedly has iced this kid out. Okay. This kid is not welcome. All of the siblings, the half siblings, whatever, they're all adults now. And by the way, one of her daughters, Catherine Schwarzenegger, who sort of peddles in this lifestyle, self-help, wellness bullshit, is married to Chris Pratt, who prides himself on being a big Christian. I ask you, what is Christian about icing out this kid who is here through no fault? This is not his fault. That affair, that relationship, that is not his fault. Why is he iced out of being around the paragons of virtue in Christianity, Maria Shriver? This is why I didn't want to spend money on her book, you guys. But I did it because it is for a greater good. We're going to take her apart, as she should be. You know, she gets such like velvet glove treatment because, as we all know, regrettably, because they cannot stop banging on about it, her best friend is Oprah Winfrey, you know? So, and she had a big career, by the way, in media. She was a quote unquote journalist. And I have a personal anecdote to share at the end of this bit. You guys are, I don't know if it's going to shock you, but when it happened to me, I was kind of shocked. So she's got this book out, and it's a book of poetry. Okay. The base price for this book, you buy it in a bookstore, which I encourage because, you know, Amazon gets enough of our money, $30. You're buying it in Canada, $39.99. This book is very small, and I mean physically small. Okay, that means that the publisher is trying to scam you by making it look like it has more pages than an actual standard size book would. Okay, it's a book of her poetry, and I'm going to read just a little bit of it to you because I love you and I would never torture you like this. You're going to gag, okay? Don't drink anything while you're listening to this segment. You're going to gag. So she gives us a little bit in the beginning and a little bit in the end of like actual prose we can read. And she opens with reflections. The first line, I am Maria. No shit, lady. Your picture's on the cover. Your book is called I Am Maria, and your name is on the bottom as the author. Okay. She tells us that searching for the authentic Maria, uncovering, discovering, and recovering her garbage to fill up space has been a challenge for me all my life. For decades, I couldn't see her because I was looking for myself in all the wrong places. What is this? You may be wondering, what on earth took me so long to see these truths? Trust me, I've asked myself that question a million times. I now understand I couldn't have known these truths until I learned them, and I couldn't have learned them until I lived them, and I couldn't have lived them until I had to. She's sounding like Mel Robbins, another total and complete moron who's out there shilling snake oil to the women of America. And I really hate this because it's all so inauthentic and none of it's true. I've ripped many of these poems out of a place of fear, shame, confusion, and darkness. Okay, this scandal happened, I'm going to say it was at least 20 years ago. So I think she's very late to this party. Now she gives us a little bit of an origin story in case we don't know that she's a Kennedy, because trust me, these Kennedys never let any of us forget that they're Kennedys, though they probably should. You see, she begins, which is so cloying. It's a way of trying to establish relatability with the reader. And it always puts me off when people say you see, because it's a tell to me that they think that they are so above the rest of us that they need to bring themselves down to earth in order to converse with us, even though we are the ones putting money in said pocket. I grew up in a big, competitive Irish Catholic family where you didn't sit around and talk about your feelings. You went out into the world and had an impact. The bar was set high, and I mean really high. We know in the tons of biographies, historical accounts, magazine articles, documentaries, memoirs that have been published since the assassination of JFK in 1963, we know. You don't have to tell us. Please don't tell us. Just spare us. Just assume, you know what? Just give us our dignity and assume that we all have a modicum of intelligence and know who you are. That's why you got this book deal. That's why you got your own publishing imprint. That's why you get on the Today Show and all manner of public national platforms to sell your garbage. Okay. Fast forward to 2003 and kapow! Exclamation point. My movie star husband abruptly decided he wanted to run for governor of California. Wait, what? You gotta be kidding me. Okay. When Arnold Schwarzenegger, again, known womanizer, known social climber, everybody knew as early as the 80s that he had his eye on the White House, on finding a way to get around or add an amendment to the Constitution which would allow foreign-born people to run for president of the United States. Everybody knew that this was this guy's ultimate goal. What better way than at that time to marry a prominent Kennedy? We all knew it. Maybe Maria really did delude herself. I don't know. She goes on to tell us more Mel Robbins stuff about living her authentic life, blah, blah, blah. Let's flash forward to a poem, shall we? This poem is called Dallas. Guess what it's about? The word pulls the trigger. That is really poor choice of language. Rips through my house like the wind. Dallas, why did you forsake us? Why did you let that happen? Why did you? Where were you? This is garbage, garbage, garbage. Okay. Now we get to a poem called Rejection, which I'm guessing is about Arnold. You know what I'm talking about. Don't play naive. Don't pretend you didn't know. Don't pretend it didn't cut. Face it, that familiar feeling of rejection, it cuts, it makes you wince. Edna St. Vincent Millay, this is not. And by the way, in the introduction to her book, she tells us that she's done talking about her marriage, and you won't find any real details about it here. Again, what are we all doing here? Either talk about the marriage and put it on the page and tell your story, or don't. But don't be a tease, Maria. You know, everybody learns that. Like, everybody hates a tease. So I'm going to tell you my little Maria Shriver story, which is that in 2019, I had published a book for the same publisher that publishes Maria Shriver. It's Viking. And it was called American Predator. It was a true crime story. Immediately hit the New York Times bestseller list. It outperformed their expectations, and it makes them still to this day a ton of money. They said to me, whatever you want to write about next, we will publish it. We don't care, you know, because all they could see was dollar signs. I said, great, here's my next book. Guess what it was? Ask Not, which is the book that came out last summer. Kennedy book about all the Kennedy women that family has like fucked with and destroyed. My publisher went radio silent for a good few months, which is a very, very, it's like a no-no in that world. You don't do that. You can really screw with an author's career doing that, because suddenly everybody thinks that I'm a problem, that the author's the problem. If a publishing house doesn't want to go near an author that has just sold them a ton of books, there's got to be a major issue, right? Maria thinks in this book, this guy, Brian Tart, who is the publisher of said house, right? Brian was my publisher. I thought he loved me until word got back to me that Viking had likely passed. I'm going to say likely, allegedly passed, because they were getting in bed with Maria Shriver and giving her her own imprint, and they didn't want to upset her delicate sensibilities. To which I said, that's a bunch of bullshit, because Maria Shriver likes to call herself a journalist, and any journalist worth their salt would never want to trample on anyone's First Amendment right to express themselves in the pages of a book or their ideas, no matter how confrontational or upsetting. I also had a fellow author decline to give me a blurb for the book saying that this person, I will not gender this person, was too afraid of upsetting Maria Shriver, which to me, I was like, are you kidding? Upset Maria Shriver, who cares? So that will lead us to Jack Schlossberg. I've been dying to do this for a very long time, and I'm so happy this platform has afforded me this, and it is my fervent hope that this winds up in Jack Schlossberg's Instagram feed, because he went after me personally a couple of months ago after I wrote a column for the Daily Mail in which I basically said, why isn't Caroline Kennedy coming to get her son? Because his social media accounts and his trolling of people who are really far more accomplished and intelligent than he is. By the way, this is a 32-year-old man who has no real job and spends his days filming himself for Instagram. And I mean, it's almost, I'm not saying he is, but it's like watching somebody who's like bipolar and in a manic phase, and they can't stop doing something, like posting, and they speak in ways that actually make zero sense, even though he'll remind you more than once. He's been to Harvard twice, you guys, twice. And it's not like he's a legacy or anything. But anyway, he went after me personally after I wrote a column basically saying, this is the kind of Kennedy that the family used to like lobotomize and hide. Ask not, read about Rosemary. And anyway, he's out there making an absolute ass of himself. There was a story in Page 6 that I just loved, and it basically said that Jack, JFK's grandson, is doing more harm to the Kennedy name than the rest of them combined. That's coming from Kennedy family members. And that says a lot. Again, when you're talking about a family that has unalived women who were inconvenient, left someone to drown or die. She didn't drown. She suffocated in 3 feet of water. That says a lot. He then went on to social media and started calling me names. Okay, like, it's going to take more than that, Jack. It's going to take more than that, Jack, calling me names. I'll repeat it for you because he thought it was witty. He called me Maureen Vagine. I guess he thought my name rhymes with like a female body part that by definition should be something we mock and laugh about. Which, by the way, I've never understood that. I've never frankly understood why the P word, the word pussy, is supposed to be sort of a put down in the culture. I mean, women give birth. We are incredibly powerful because of that bodily part that men don't possess. So, fuck you. Anyway, Jack's been on Instagram for a couple of reasons. Number one, he is loudly taking a very brave, determined stance. We're not talking Israel versus Palestine. We're talking the Met Gala. And he is telling us that he is boycotting the Met Gala, and you can watch a little bit of this from his Instagram.
Hey, Anna Wintour, I'm sorry, but I'm boycotting the Met Gala this year. I can't go in good conscience with so much happening around the world and at home. It's just not the time. It's not the time for a party like that, so I'm calling on everybody to boycott the Met Gala. It's not the time. Thank you, guys. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you. No, thank you. Anyway,
okay, enough of him. Enough. This is another thing he does. He just says the same thing like over and over and over because he really doesn't have anything to say. Number one, as per news reports, he was not invited. Okay, that's why he's boycotting it. Number two, can we please look at a photo of Jack with his mommy at the Met Gala a few years ago? You guys, look at the dress that Caroline Kennedy is wearing. Now, I am sure, I can't prove it, I don't have the actual receipts, but I'm sure that Anna Wintour put her in that dress because every attendee has to have their look approved by Anna. And so first of all, that's how like grubby Caroline Kennedy and her kid are. They're like willing to have Anna Wintour tell them what they can and cannot wear. I mean, she's political royalty, don't you know? Secondly, look at this. She looks like a Japanese cake exploded. Or she actually looks like a couch exploded. It's sort of like the version of Kim K's dress when she went with Kanye that first year. This is an epic troll. This is an epic troll. And her date is her layabout, useless, Nepo baby son, who not for nothing was hired by Anna Wintour over the summer to be Vogue's political correspondent. And look at the tongue bathing he got for this. I believe, did Annie Leibovitz shoot this? It was somebody big. We're looking at Jack on the floor in what looks like a newsroom next to a Xerox machine, rolling around in Xeroxes of his own face. He proceeded, I think he maybe wrote 1 or 2 columns, by which I mean, I know how this works. I've seen it all. I see it all the time. These celebrities get these bylines, but what they do is they call an editor, they talk to an editor, and an editor puts them into a cogent piece of writing that is semi-publishable. And he instead went on Instagram, and let's watch him explain to us why he feels the need to go live.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome, everybody. Hey, this is unplanned. I didn't plan any of this. I just decided to go live. I've never been live. Actually, that's not true. One time I chugged a Monster live. It's maybe 2018. I think live is important. I think live is growing. I think live is the future. So that's why I'm going live today. Now, you may be wondering, why are you going live? What's up? Well,
I wanted to show you that amount of footage because it ratifies my earlier point that all he does is repeat stuff. There's no actual content or original thought behind it. I'm going live. It's important to go live. I think live is growing. It's important to grow live. What are you talking about? Why are you clogging up my goddamn feed with your bullshit? You're not bright. You're not talented. You have nothing to offer except your name, which, sir, frankly, is in the toilet. Why don't you go get a job and be a productive member of society instead of talking like a child to an audience that you think adores you? Oh, by the way, I love this for him. Alan Dershowitz is reportedly suing him for an online troll, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. And I hope Alan Dershowitz takes this kid for whatever he's worth, which we all know is mommy's money. Next up, before we go to break, I want to remind you guys that, listen, I read all the emails, all the DMs. I'm responding to as many of them as I can, as quickly as I can. And God bless you, because this is a problem so many people, including Jack Schlossberg, would love to have. So just a friendly reminder, always know, I do want to hear from you. I want your feedback. We're going to do a follow-up to the Mean Girls segment we did last week, because I've gotten so many personal stories from so many of you telling me your own sort of harrowing accounts with Mean Girls. And many of you are like well into middle age, which was the entire point of that piece. So I'm so happy that landed with you. And I also want to hear subjects you want us to cover or revisit, things that you think we might really need to know about. So email me. I am Maureen at devilmaycaremedia.com, and we will be sharing some of the best ones. And they're all great. So that's kind of a heavy lift, but we're going to be sharing some of the best ones soon. Coming up, that's my Meghan Markle sigh. You guys. It's the latest on Meghan Markle being Meghan Markle. Back in a minute. Do you guys want to know the secret to great days? It's better nights. It all starts by turning your bedroom into a sanctuary with Cozy Earth. And their bamboo sheet set is really something special. It's so hard to find the perfect pair of sheets. And these are the softest, coolest, most luxurious sheets you will ever own. They are breathable. They are temperature regulating, which is my holy grail. And they are crafted to help you sleep like it actually matters, because it does. How you sleep affects everything about the course of your next day. So imagine crawling into bed every night and feeling restored, refreshed, and ready to take on tomorrow. And don't forget about their bamboo pajamas. Lightweight yet cozy, they are designed to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. It's the sleepwear upgrade you didn't know you need, but you definitely deserve. Cozy Earth makes it easy to try for yourself. You get 100 nights risk-free to fall in love. Plus, every bedding product is backed by a 10-year warranty. So, take the time to prioritize yourself by prioritizing your sleep. Visit CozyEarth.com and start sleeping better with Cozy Earth today. That's CozyEarth.com. Welcome back to The Nerve. The best for last. This morning, I listened to a new podcast in which Meghan Markle is a guest. She's got her own podcast going, which is falling down the ratings chart as we speak, but she went on with her very, very, very dear friend who has her own podcast, which I had never heard of before. And upon listening to this, I realized there was a reason why, and I will never listen again. But in terms of comic value, you guys, this thing is unparalleled. I swear, like I actually found myself like weird. I guess it was kind of like a hate listen. Like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Okay, so this woman founded a company you may be familiar with. It's called It Cosmetics IT. And she wound up selling it for like a lot of money to L'Oreal, which, she goes on about in this episode. And I'm sparing you that part because whatever, who cares? Take your money, sit on it, go home, enjoy yourself. But, Meghan moved to Montecito and now they're really good friends and they like to sit around on her rocking chairs together. And they like to be in their cozies and they wear no makeup because they're just so authentic. And they have a glass of wine. I guess it's like wine o'clock in Montecito and all the working moms just like get together and chat, but they be there for each other and all that garbage. And this woman, I'll talk to you about her voice after we listen. Listen to this initial introduction of the show, which I had to share I was like, I don't know where to cut this because you're going to hear this like, this woman who's hosting the show she reminds you of her name like every other sentence. And she reminds you that Oprah knows who she is like every other sentence and how wonderful she is so of course it's like a true meeting of the minds with Meghan Markle, because that's all you do, right? You just gas each other up. And the music underneath it, it's like we have been let into a room where living saints abide. It's practically religious. Listen to this and watch.
So beautiful.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that one. Yeah, they're just it's just so great. This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on. Thank you. We spend so much of our life trying to prove something. To prove that you're enough. You have to prove that you're pretty enough. You have to prove that you're smart enough. You prove that you're a good wife or a good friend. And I was like, I am just so done with the prove it game. And if you can't see it, I don't need to prove to you why that's your loss. Because I know that I'm a great friend, and I know the kind of mom I am, and I know the kind of human being I am, and I know how I show up. And I love being able to be that person with the people that I love. So, worthiness, maybe part of worthiness comes when you stop having to feel like you're in the prove it game.
Hallelujah. I am getting emotional right now. Getting out of the prove it game, feels like joy, tastes like freedom. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in her first ever podcast interview. It's happening! It's happening!
I was like, oh, the roses are coming back in.
They're coming back in.
Yes,
they're coming back
Spring
in.
is sprung.
I'm so grateful you're here. It's gonna be fun.
Yes.
It's gonna be fun.
Hi, crew.
You made me cry. Good thing I have no makeup on.
You look so pretty.
I have not done a show in no makeup since my 1,000 QVC shows.
Do you think I have? What are you talking about?
You look exactly the same though.
Okay. The prove it game that Meghan talks about. Again, have we not heard all of this language and syntax and what passes for actual thoughtful conversation in every interview Meghan gives? Oh, you got to prove yourself and blah, 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 blah. Okay. If you're not in the prove it game, why do you have deals with Netflix, Spotify, Lemonada, publishing houses? Why are you going on Oprah, justifying your existence and what you did and leveling all of these garbage claims, in my estimation, about what? If you're not in the prove it game, Meghan, what are we doing here? Okay. Secondly, they're not wearing makeup. I beg to differ. Meghan Markle, to me, looks like she's just not wearing bronzer, which she likes to apply sometimes with a heavy hand. I think she's wearing the no makeup look. And Jamie Kern-Lima, her little lapdog, tells us she's not wearing makeup either. I'm sorry, lady. You are, in my estimation, wearing blush. Now, later in the episode, she will tell us she has rosacea, which is flaring up because she's so freaking excited to be talking to Meghan Markle. But I don't know anybody whose rosacea has ever presented as two completely symmetrical, completely in tone shades of blush on one's cheek. Okay, now, Jamie tells us 10 minutes into this podcast that through Meghan Markle's actions, which as far as I can tell are putting flour sprinkles, which are supposedly inedible on cookies, and jarring preserves, that she's changing lives. Never forget. Now we go into, Meghan, she will talk about her childhood in, I think, highly suspicious ways. We only have got, she tells us she's about to come up on her 7-year anniversary, which means we've known her now for almost 10 years, okay? We've been living through this long global nightmare for 10 years. We always hear about the dinner tray story, right? She's eating TV dinners because she was so neglected as a kid, but she was watching Jeopardy. So we know she's highly intelligent, and that she has issues with some of her grades in school as an elementary school kid. Okay. This is it. This is all she gives us, but it's telling us something about her. So let's listen to her talking about a childhood report card that she recently discovered, as if they're not in a special fucking box she got at the Container Store marked report cards.
And I found an old report card from when I was at Hollywood Schoolhouse. Maybe I was probably Archie's age. Oh, yes, because our kids got their report cards. So I was thinking about memory lane with that. I'll get back to your question in a second, but you'll like this, where you're going through, and that's when grades weren't A, B, C, D at that age.
Yeah.
It's right, like satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or I don't know what the best one would be, but it came to ability to throw and catch a ball, not applicable. Oh my gosh. It's like, well, I'm a great runner if someone's chasing me. Otherwise, just not the most athletic.
She's a great runner if someone's chasing her, like the British royal family. Actually, that didn't entail running. That just, I think, entailed calling Tyler Perry and asking for his private jet. But you guys, okay, the beginning of that clip where she's like, oh my God. It's like, it's so inauthentic. This is why she was never going to be more than like a D-list actress on a basic cable show. The one thing she is dying to sell to us is relatability. The one thing she is dying for more than anything is for us to love her and want to be like her. And she can't get it across the finish line. And all of this is exhibit A as to why. And by the way, Jamie sitting there petting her hair, like that's a professional hairstylist who did that job. I'm telling you right now, it absolutely is. So stop it with this. We're just sitting in our living room, in our cozies, barefoot, spilling our secrets and emanating girl power and making your lives better. Okay, moving on. We are going to the beginnings of, again, the world has waited, right? The beginnings of the nicknames that Meghan and Harry have for each other. Now, I don't really know or care that he calls her M. Frankly, I don't believe it. I think he probably is calling for help at this point, but we are learning how she came to call him, as she does in every single interview, because she has to remind us that she has a proximity to him that none of us have. Who wants it, lady? None of us. H. Here's the origin story of that.
People didn't know we were dating for, talk about memory lane, so long ago. I mean, it'll be our 7-year wedding anniversary soon. I couldn't tell anyone who I was dating, and he was keeping. So I think we were just on a letter basis.
Yeah.
And then it stuck.
It's stuck.
It stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. And still to this day.
Yeah, I like it.
We'll all be on a play date, or we'll be somewhere. There'll be tons of people there, and he'll say M and you'll say H, and your friends say M, and it just is a thing.
It's a thing.
And do you both love it? Like it's just natural.
Yes, and I like nicknames a lot. I love nicknames.
I wish I could share the particulars of this story, but that what passes for conversation there, that utter banality, reminded me of a good friend of mine who found himself at a private dinner with those two. Okay? They are ridiculous. And conversating is like moving a boulder up a mountain. It is impossible. There is no there. And by the way, as we are just, doing each other's hair and having some mom wine and mom time, let's not talk about the bullying allegations against Meghan that have never really gone away. Let's not talk about Dr. Sophie Chandaka leaving Harry's beloved charity formed in memory of his mother, and as a Black woman leveling these accusations against Harry and Meghan for bullying. She can't be taken down by those two because she's a woman of color. So Meghan can't play the race card. And by the way, she's not talking to Us Weekly. She's talking to the Financial Times. That's how you know this woman means business. And Jason Nuff, who used to work for William and Kate, has also been on record saying those two were bullies. They bullied 2 palace staffers out of a job. But instead, we're hearing Meghan tell her friend Jamie, or Jamie talk about Meghan, and telling us that Meghan, by wearing a brand of jeans, I'm not making this up, I'm not exaggerating or editing for comic effect, that Meghan, by wearing a brand of jeans, has gotten women out of human trafficking. Okay. We also hear from Meghan, I love a handwritten note. She saves them all. The banality is, I'm at a loss for words, which is a rare thing. Okay, now these two purveyors of privacy, these two people who bang the drum about their privacy, they need their privacy, the headlines are too much. Meghan almost became suicidal. She wanted to kill herself. Let's take a look at, we're getting closer, you guys, to seeing the children because we've got merch to move and things are not going well. So let's take a look at this little reel that Meghan dropped on Instagram yesterday morning.
What do we think, Lily?
I think it's beautiful.
I have two theories. One, I think that's a voiceover artist, like, a Pamela Adlon, like the ones who's, their specialty is doing kids, because it sounds a little too like, oh, it sounds so beautiful. By the way, it's eerily reminiscent of her interviewer's voice, of Jamie Lynn's voice. Jamie Lynn talks like this. And what I love are grown women who talk like this, like they just injected some helium and everything's okay, there's that. And I have a theory, and you guys, I realize this may sound unkind, but I think we are all among friends here, and like there's truth to it. This is nothing to do with actual children who really should. This is about Meghan. These children, if she really fled the royal family because she wanted her children to grow up in a life that did not require media attention, what she is doing is not the truth. And here is what I think about Meghan, because I think she is a malignant narcissist who is a truly terrible person. And you're going to hear proof of this in the next clip. If Meghan Markle thought her children were as beautiful as she is, we'd see their faces. Okay, let's hear all about the very private letter that Harry wrote about Meghan that they're going to share on this podcast.
Your husband just shared publicly for the first time. He said, I'm so happy for my wife and fully support absolutely everything she's done and continues to do.
When did he say that?
This week. It's everywhere in the press. Yeah, it's beautiful. But so you don't know this. Okay, so you're hearing
No idea.
You're hearing this for the first time.
That's sweet.
That's sweet. What? This went public? This went public. This is a woman who wrote a letter to her father, and this came out in a court battle that I believe she launched. And part of those communiques were to one of her media people about word choice in said letter, personal, allegedly private, to her father, Thomas. And there was a part of the communications where she said, I never really called him daddy. I know I'm calling him that in the letter, but I think I should keep it, because if this letter leaks, which I think it's going to, okay. So she's really writing it for public consumption. She's going to pretend it's private. And then when it becomes public, she's going to feign outrage and sadness at yet another betrayal, another dagger in the heart. But when it becomes public, I feel that the word daddy, I believe these were her exact words, will really pull at the heartstrings. You will never convince America. The Brits are onto you. America's onto you. The world at large is onto you. You're never going to convince anyone that you're authentic. Who actually authored that letter that just got read? I think one Meghan Markle was standing right there with Harry. She probably had her calligrapher's pen, and she's writing, like, Harry, again, find your balls wherever they are, find them. You're writing a letter that's just all about how much you admire your wife. By the way, sans specifics, which I love. That says to me that he's checked out. Next, Meghan is going to tell us. This is the last one, and it is, no, actually, there's one more. Okay, she's going to tell us about what she is doing for her children, so that her children, when they grow up, will be in awe of how amazing their mother was.
So I'd created for the kids these email addresses that sort of like names, again, that you would never guess, that I will give them at some point in their lives when they're older. But before I go to bed almost every night, I email them.
Wow.
I email, because it doesn't have to be a heavy lift, and you email them like, here's your report card from today, or oh my gosh, you said the funniest thing this morning, or here's a picture of you two having breakfast, or here's you playing with the dog. The things that you're not going to frame, the things that you're not going to put pen to paper in a journal, but they will end up at one point in their life, maybe when they're 16 or when they're 18, that I say, here's an email that I've been keeping for you.
I have full body chills right now.
For your whole life. And here's everything and every moment that I wanted to tell you how much I love you and like how proud I am of you. And of all things, it's making me emotional.
So Meghan is telling us that just about every night she's writing letters to her children so that when they're older, and let's be real, they hate her. They fucking hate her. They can't get away fast enough. They're changing their names. They're going to schools under assumed identities, and they're going to get jobs on the East Coast, if not out of the country, so that they have a viable excuse for seeing her maybe once a year. So when they grow up and they open these letters, or perhaps, in the event of her untimely death, which, she probably fantasizes about becoming a new Diana, because there was another thing that she says in this podcast, which is that she was having a conversation with someone who informed her that her future had been written before she was ever born. Okay? It was basically saying that her fate had been predetermined. She was born for greatness. And she answers like an asshole, like a Hollywood asshole, using verbiage that only rich Hollywood assholes use. She's like, well, could I I didn't get the specifics of that deal memo. Can I redline that? Which is it's what you do. You give your lawyer something and to look at, and he makes these red lines in the document to say we'd like to strike this out, or we'd like to add this into the deal. The average person has no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Jesus Christ. Are you redlining these notes to your kids? So anyway, so they can grow up and be in awe of her, and it's all just the worst. And by the way, as for this grand love story that she's telling with Harry, and how they had to name each other H and M because they were dating in secret, and they weren't, I guess WhatsApp wasn't available back then, so they couldn't write each other's names out. It's not like Harry and Meghan are such unique names that the world is going to explode with joy when they find out these two have gotten together. This brain trust that's going to change the world. Look at Meghan last week in New York City with her husband, I love that man loves me. So again, that phrasing, that man loves that man, that's a diminution, okay? He's a royal prince of the blood. That man loves me so much. Look at Harry attempting to take Meghan by the hand as she's sauntering her way in to the Time 100 summit where she had no business at all speaking. She's reaching for a stranger to hug, and he has to take his hand away in humiliation, like a key moment at a Wimbledon game. We are going to, or perhaps the Zapruder film, we're going to rewind that in slow motion just to take another look at this cutting rejection of her own husband. Oh my God. Oh, and he puts his hands in his pockets. It's just, he may as well be the help at this point, right? He's the help. He's the help. She's the hustler. She's the maven. She's the mover and shaker. She's the brains of this organization. I can't wait to see what she does next. I know we're all feeling the same way. Anyway, I felt like that was a really strong way to end the show. I hope you agree. Again, email me, Maureen@devilmaycaremedia.com. Tell us what you think. Thank you all for joining today, for all of your feedback, and I hope to see you back here on Friday on The Nerve, where you will never guess what we are about to say next.